13 to 16 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
And this is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5. Galway 1 goal and a point. Cork 3 points in the hurling quarterfinal down in Thurles. Now, the Saturday panel on Off the Ball this week previews next week's 150th edition of the Irish Life Health National Track and Field Championships, which take place at the Morton Stadium in Santry in Dublin. The first National Athletics Championships were organised in College Park, Trinity College, Dublin, on July the 7th, 1873. They've been held every year since, making the Irish National Championships the longest running consecutive national senior championships in the world. So to look ahead, delighted to be joined on the line by Lillian O'Hora, 100 metres hurdler and an Athletics Ireland Women in Sport officer, Michael Bowler, decathlete, pole vaulter for Mccarthy and a physiotherapist, and Matt Lockett, the Athletics Ireland National Endurance Coordinator since 2018. Lillian, Michael and Matt, how are we all doing today?
Hi John, thanks for having us on.
Not too bad, John.
Great to see you. Great to see you all. If anybody's watching, you can watch us on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Running, track and field, it's brilliant stuff. I love it. We can't get enough of it. When we do kind of, I suppose, get our heads into it, Lillian, talk to us about your role as a Women in Sport officer for Athletics Ireland. What is that like day to day? What does it entail for you?
Well, thankfully I started the role back in 2019 due to Sport Ireland's investment, I suppose, in women in sport and the need to kind of advance gender equality practices and everything like that. It's been an absolute roller coaster. It's been brilliant because I suppose we're involved in so many areas of the sport, from leadership and governance to active participation and coaching. So there's probably not one answer to say what happens on a day-to-day because we're kind of going from different things. But we're running a number of programs to hopefully, make an impact on our members and so on like that. And it's definitely been very worthwhile. But I suppose it's more the members' engagement, which is elevating, I suppose, what we do and how we offer it. So hopefully the future is bright for women in sport. 100
metres hurdler. Can you remember your first pair of spikes, Lillian?
I can. They were a lovely Nike pair and I'm still in the Nike pair. And I suppose if anyone's into athletics at the moment, there's a big demand for particular spikes because there's an extra kind of bounce off the spike. So I'm still in those Nike pairs and looking for every little bit out of them as we can get.
Lucky spikes. Was Derval O'Rourke a hero growing up?
Oh, she was and she still is. I suppose the 100 metre hurdles is an event that has just absolutely transformed in the last few years because of Derval. I definitely would call it the Derval O'Rourke effect, but also because I suppose there's incredible coaches now who are doing and investing so much in it. I looked up to Derval big time. She was very good to myself, even now still, for advice and for guidance. And even with my dad Lee Moore is actually my coach as well. And she's been very good to him to give us advice and everything like that. We need those sort of heroes dragging us on and keeping those standards high. And like I said, at the moment, fortunately and unfortunately, it's the highest standard of hurdles that there ever has been, which makes it nice and competitive. So no doubt next weekend at the National Championships, it'll be every woman for herself.
I just can't get over how difficult it looks on the screen, Lillian. You've got to go very fast, but also you can't hit those hurdles.
Yes, it's survival of the fittest, really. Trying to get from A to B as fast as you possibly can, but also trying to make sure that it's as clean as possible as well. And there is definitely a few occasions that you will take your tumbles and you will take your hits, but I suppose that's the fun side of it too, and challenging yourself to get the most out of yourself every hurdle, I suppose.
Michael, a decathlete and pole vaulter. So how does the training and the prep fit in with all of those different sports and different disciplines that you engage in?
Well, it's a very difficult balance, to be honest, which is not always smooth sailing, but you try to break up your week and mostly focus on the weaker events, really. So, I'm not as serious about the decathlon anymore. I've kind of moved into more commentary and coaching now at this stage of my career. And back when I was serious about it, I was training maybe 5 or 6 days a week, maybe 2 events per day, that sort of thing.
And being a physio must help in terms of regulating your body. You'll know when you get a bit of a strain or you maybe have a bit of a head start that other athletes don't have.
Yeah, that's it. Like I always say in sport or conditioning, it's all about getting the volume right, the volume and intensity of your training. If you just do too much, your body will start to break down. But if you hit that sweet spot, that's really what you're looking for. You're always teetering the line in athletics. We're trying to get your body to its absolute maximum, physiological capabilities. So, it's a very, very fine balance. And when you're right on your peak performance, that's probably when you're most likely to get injured, to be honest. So it's not an easy line to toe.
So I believe you're competing in the pole vault next weekend, is that right?
Yes.
Against a teenager, is it Conor Callanan? He seems to be blazing a trail at the moment in the sport.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So Conor last year became the youngest ever senior national champion. I think he beat me that day on countback. But also there's another young fella, Matthew Callanan, and they're not related to the same surname, but the two of them came first place in the indoor. So I say it'll be a very good competition between those two. I'd say I probably won't have much chance to keep up with them this year, to be honest with you. I heard there earlier, John, that you're thinking about coming down. I say I'd highly recommend it, and to anybody that's around Dublin or anywhere, to come in and watch it in the flesh, because there's one thing watching it on the screen, but to watch the pole vault and watch these two young fellas competing in the flesh, it's very, very exciting. And the same for Liliana Hoare there, and Sarah Lavin will be in the hurdles. There's nothing like seeing athletics in the flesh. So I hope to see you there, John, now over the weekend. Yeah,
I'll have to stick to that commitment that I made. Absolutely no problem at all. Because I'm just thinking that the 100 metres hurdles, I'm thinking back when I'm watching as a kid, Gail Devers was a huge person I remember, Liliane. And then Michael, Sergei Bubka was just an absolute legend in the pole vault. The technique of the pole vault, like how long does it take to get your head around what you need to do and to perfect that technique? Because it just looks alien to a lot of people on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it takes years and years. It's a very technical event. It's funny, when I started off, I got into athletics because my local club, my local village decided to set up an athletics club. And Christine O'Gorman and the Stinnets up there, was a racehorse trainer from the area, used to coach us, and we decided to dig out an old stick pole that it was 30 or 40 years old, and it had only been used for poking nests out of pigeons' roofs, out of the roof of sheds for years. So we actually dug a hole in the ground, because you need to have something to stick the pole into. And the local geriatrics hospital in Enniscorthy were throwing out a load of mattresses, so that's what we landed on. We tied all the mattresses together, and so you start off by just holding quite low down on the pole. You just put it into the ground, and you might only get 2 or 3 feet off the ground, and then eventually you move up higher and higher up the pole until you're carrying a 16-foot long pole. And at that point, the pole needs to start to bend, and so it's a little bit more gradual a progression than most people think. You don't just take off down the runway holding a 20-foot long pole that's bending and launching you in every direction. It's very, very much controlled, and so if anybody ever wanted to take it up, it's not as dangerous as it looks on the television. So.
Absolutely. And Matt, talk to us about your role now as endurance coordinator, how it's changed since you arrived in Ireland, because we've got a good crop of young athletes. We had the under-23 team win gold at the European cross country last year.
Yeah, I guess my role covers everything from 800 metres through to marathon, and we've had a good crop of marathon runners going to major championships in recent years, but we've done really well in the European cross country the last 2 editions. We missed a couple of years with a year with COVID, but yeah, there's certainly great depth in the under-20s and under-23s at the moment. We won gold with the under-23s back in December, which was a fabulous event in Santry in Dublin. And we, across all teams really were competitive with, the top 5 or 6 teams in Europe, which shows we probably punch above our weight for the size of the country in terms of endurance running. And there's a rich history there, and something in the Irish makeup that clearly endurance running fits well with us.
What are the kind of do's and don'ts in terms of training for endurance runners? Are there certain things that they need to be doing differently to other athletes?
Well, I guess some of the physiological changes you're looking for as a distance runner to take a lot of time, and really the build and getting to a really high level requires a lot of consistency. Guys often put a 12-week program together and go okay, but really it takes year on year, month on month, year on year of consistent training to really make that difference. You see these sort of couch 5K programs, which are great for getting people started, and short marathon build-up. But the guys that get to a really high level, it's about consistency over the years. And, our top runners will be running 100 miles a week. Some of the marathon guys are running 130 or more, and some of them are even fitting that in around a full-time job. So it takes a lot of organisation of your life, a lot of dedication, and looking after yourself as well. So you don't do that much training without being good at sleep, nutrition, and really taking care of yourself. So a lot of discipline, dedication.
Yeah, we've a lot of voluntary coaches in athletics across the country, Matt, and I suppose there's a big challenge, isn't there, with the competition of Gaelic games, soccer and rugby?
Yeah, definitely. There's countries like Norway that are doing very well on the European world scene at the moment, endurance running, but I don't think they have the same range of sports that are with such a big uptake in their country. A lot come from a skiing background. We've got it's not only the Gaelic games, soccer, rugby and basketball are also really popular amongst our youth athletes. So it's hard, and I suppose there's a lot of talk about not too much early specialisation of athletes. I mean, Nick Griggs is a big star at the moment of the younger athletes. He's just 17 and ran a 356 miles, so he's a real phenomenon. But he was involved with his local Gaelic football club till a year or so ago. So, Sarah Healey, or one of other big talents, was playing hockey for a long time. So I think as an endurance runner, as long as you're getting, I suppose they talk about getting the minutes in. So some aerobic exercise, it might not all be specific running work, but from an early age, if you're spending time on the pitch, you're building up your aerobic capacity through lots of running around, which maybe we lament we've lost a little bit as a society. As in recent years, we don't maybe do as much incidental play and as we used to. But those guys that play a lot of sport and are probably well conditioned for endurance down the line.
Lillian, did you play other sports when you were a formative athlete? Do you believe in specialisation, or do you think it's good to have different skills from different types of sports to help you with what you do?
Oh, definitely. I'd echo what Matt is saying, is play it all and do it all until there comes a point, because I definitely was one of those kids who played everything from Gaelic football to basketball to my athletics, and it definitely helped and strengthened, the athletics strengthened those sports as well. But I suppose ultimately at some stage you're going to have to choose. But then at the same time, I suppose whatever you're happiest doing, stick to. And I suppose where you kind of maybe see the most potential or opportunities to progress within sport, I suppose that will kind of start to come to the surface as well as you develop throughout the years.
Was funding good for you, Lillian, when you were, winning these national championships? Was it difficult to keep a balance as an athlete and someone who's trying to live a normal life as well?
Well, I'll be completely honest, John. I don't get funding,
right,
but simply because I'm not of the standard to deserve funding.
Okay.
Yet, I'll put in the word yet, because like the high performance setup there, like the team that Matt is working on, like they're all working to serve a whole cohort of athletes from a range of different events. So yes, I am self-funded and everything like that, but to be honest, I make it work because I want to make it work. You know what I mean? I have to do what suits me. So I'm not entirely kind of, I'm going to get on with it whether I'm funded or not, and everything like that. But if I'm completely honest, I wasn't deserving to be getting funding once upon a time anyway. So, hopefully in time, maybe we'll have an opportunity to change that.
Is, Matt, the opportunity then to get more people into the funding system? I mean, I was looking at targets there, the high performance strategy between 2022 and 28, 1 medal at the next 2 Worlds, 1 medal at the Paris Olympics, coaching, to be enhanced with getting top coaches into the system. What do you think are our targets now over the next few years regarding track and field in this country?
I suppose we've set those targets out. I guess on a global level, you're relying on that really, one thing that people struggle with, I suppose, our sport has such a global reach compared to any other. There's probably only soccer that can compare to it in terms of the number of countries that get involved. So to win at the highest level on a global stage, you're looking at someone with exceptional genetics for the sport that's been well supported and has been well committed and well coached. So there's a lot of ingredients that needs to come together. So we've got these ambitious targets. I guess we what we're looking to do is increase the chances of getting those global medals. So that's about capturing the talent in the first place, as you talked about. There's a lot of competition from other sports, and it's that those coaches that give athletes the gateway into the sport are key. And then we need coaches that can take them on through the levels as they progress. I think I suppose the coaches I work with in endurance, there were a dozen or more coaches, and that's been not overly generous. That I really know the stuff, and there's a lot of up and coming coaches behind them as well. There's, I suppose, with the internet, and it's much easier to share expertise, and people can get access to what's been done as best practice in other countries through coaching a lot more easily. We want to help support that, but we do have a good cohort of coaches at the moment. You're seeing guys that are doing very well domestically, as they've not necessarily had to leave Ireland and are performing at a good level. The likes of Sarah Healey, Darren McElhinney, Andrew Cosman, from an endurance point of view. So we do have coaching expertise, and the next stage is to look at how we support that. And I guess one challenge for us as a sport is a lot of our good coaches are also, bright, intelligent, very employable people that have good, well-paid careers. So it's difficult to buy their time as well. And so we have to be creative about how we find Irish solutions to support them going forward.
So Lillian was speaking almost about the vocational element there, Michael. So is the coaching you do vocational?
Sorry, say again?
Is the coaching that you do vocational?
Oh yeah, I'm just coaching kids and trying to find time whenever I can to do little bits and help out here and there. Obviously, I try to coach coaches as well as much as I possibly can, so that you're developing other people that will be able to commit more time than I can. But it's all about just trying to find a bit of free time away from work to help out the athletes.
Sure. So it's next Saturday and Sunday in Santry. Remember, folks, you can get tickets at athleticsIreland.ie to see the National Track and Field Championships, the 150th edition at the Morton Stadium, to see the best talent in the country. So let's talk about that talent. Let's just go through some of the races next week. The men's 200 metres final next Saturday, Lillian. This is set to pit the likes of Marcus Lawler and Robert McDonnell against each other.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely to have two Olympians, in one race together, and it's a great head-to-head with the two lads, because they've raced against each other 3 times, and the current score of amongst the showdowns is 2-1 to Marcus. So no doubt, if Rob decides to run the 200, that he will be looking to challenge that. Marcus has a new setup at the moment. He's now training down in Waterford with Shane McCormack and the likes of Phil Healy, and he's won this title 3 times before. And he's coming into his kind of PB shape again. He was away in Spain, I think about 2 weeks ago, and clocked a very good time and is getting back closer. So again, it'll be interesting to see whether Rob will be able to contest with that, because he's also PB this year, not just in one event, but in the 100 metres, the 200 metres and the 400 metres. So Rob's also been extremely consistent with his races, and he's been coached by Brendan Glynn in Galway. So another brilliant setup there. And Rob is someone who's just getting better and better. He won the European Under-20 Championships last year, and then won the 200 metre indoor title just gone. But then we'll also be looking out for the likes of Conor Morey and Mark Smith from DCU. So it'll be all out, but it'll definitely be jam fast. That's one thing for sure.
Good stuff. And then also on Saturday we got the shot put in terms of the field activity, Michael, and the record holder Eric Favors. He's back in action. Yeah,
that's it. Eric is based over in America, but he's brilliant for coming all the way to Ireland to compete in every single national championship, indoor and outdoor. And he's the first Irish fella to ever throw over 20 metres. So to see somebody throwing, an Irish guy throwing over 20 metres in Ireland would be absolutely brilliant if he could do it again. But he's also not going to have it all his own way, because John Kelly's been going really well, and he's actually moved out to Norway to do a bit of coaching out there. And he's Finn Valley AC, and he's thrown 19.57. James Kelly, of no relation again, is probably the third best in that competition. So it'll be a serious competition between these guys. And for there's loads of sports fans out there, and I'm always comparing our sport to other sports to make it more interesting for people watching. And the likes of Eric Favors, some of the stuff that he can do in the gym for all the Olympic lifters or CrossFitters or guys that just go do lift weights or whatever. He can clean 180 kg. He can snatch 140 kg. His bench press is probably close to 200 kg. But then when he gets into a circle, he looks like an oversized ballerina. He won't mind me saying that because he's so elegant across the circle, and he just uses the rotation, the spin technique. So it's just going to be brilliant to watch him this weekend, and I hope that Joan Healey and the two of them can have a good battle.
Yeah, like when you're talking about the javelin, the shot push, the hammer, we obviously had Pat O'Callaghan back in the 1928 and 1932. The discipline you're involved in, pole vault, these are extremely specific types of disciplines to get your skills to a zenith at.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even the shot put probably wouldn't be the most technical of the throws. The javelin is just so difficult to get right. The speed and the power that these guys are trying to harness, you're using your whole body. Everything has to be synchronized. It's so technical, and it takes years and years and years of practice. Literally in the shot put, your big toe is pushing off the ground last, and your these two fingers here, the shot put goes off your index and your middle finger as you finish the throw. So every muscle in your body is being put behind that shot put.
And then on Sunday we have the 5,000 metres final, Matt. Darragh McElhinney, that silver medalist from the cross country, up against Ephraim Goudet. Yeah,
that's really interesting. Like, we won that team medal with Ephraim missing because he was injured, and he won medal himself in Portugal in 2019 as an under-20, and he's come back from injury. Great work from Peter McDermott in Clonliffe Harriers there, and with support on S&C from the Colin Griffin, and we'll work to help to get him back. And he's ran a super 10,000 metres at the European 10K Cup just at the end of May there, so it was just outside 28 minutes. So he's got superb endurance. He's only run a very low-key 5K this season, and it's going to be an interesting tie with Darragh, because Darragh ran a 1,500 metre PB in the week. He was 3:37. So there's it's really maybe speed against endurance, but neither of them are lacking in either aspect either. So it's going to be a good clash, and there's a group of guys behind them. Maybe might be one or two more entries in yet before it closes on Sunday. But there's 70 athletes entered in total, which is fabulous and great to see. It's probably we made a decision to seed the finals. I think it was a year ago, and it went down very well with athletes. So there'll be an A race that will be well inside 14 minutes, but then there'll be the guys really looking to go run PBs and be inside 15 minutes and racing each other, and that's great to see as well. So there'll be athletes from every corner of the country there in that 5K, but a real interesting dust up at the front.
So let you know, folks, it's Galway 2 goals and 6 points, Cork 7 points in that hurling quarter-final. Coming up to half-time at Semple Stadium. At the moment on the show, we're previewing the Athletics Ireland National Track and Field Championships, which take place next weekend at the Morrison Stadium in Santry. Tickets available at athleticsIreland.ie. We are speaking to Lillian O'Hara, 100 metres hurdler and Ireland Women in Sport Officer for Athletics Ireland, Michael Bowler, a decathlete, pole vaulter, Fenna Scorthy, commentator and coach and physio, and Matt Lockett, the Athletics Ireland National Endurance Coordinator since 2018. So Lillian, the 100 metres final for women. Rashida Adeleke and Molly Scott possibly going against each other in this one?
Yeah, do you know what? It's actually probably going to be one of the races of the meet. Like, the standard this year has just, completely elevated. But I don't think the girls are going to completely have it their own way. She's kind of gone under the radar, but there's also a 19-year-old Adiemi Tabali from Longford AC, who will also be competing, but she's been training, she's on scholarship like Rashid over in America, and at the moment she's currently ranked second in Ireland, just behind Rashid and just ahead of Molly. And then we also have Joan Healey. So Joan Healey's being coached by Derval O'Rourke, so again, her expertise and her knowledge will definitely be helping Joan, and it'll be a very competitive race. But Rashid looks like is just down to run the 100 metres. She's not entering in the 200 or the 400 this time round. But it's funny because as it currently stands, she's the fourth fastest woman in Europe for the 200 metres. She's also the fourth fastest woman in the 400 metres. But yet she's decided to opt for the 100 metres. So will she become the 4th fastest European this year in the 100 metres? Who knows? She's definitely capable of anything, and it'll be interesting to see how all the girls manage and navigate through those rounds and eventually the finals on the Sunday.
What is her ceiling then, Rashid? Do you think she can be a medalist at a major championship?
Yeah, definitely. I suppose she already is. But
as a senior.
Yeah, as a senior, 100%. She's over in America in probably the most successful university college that there is in Texas. She's under the guidance of Coach Flo, who's renowned in athletics for his, his coaching prowess. But if you're able to compete at the NCAAs at that level and that standard, you're definitely capable of putting out some world-class performances. So it will be interesting this year because the European Championships are on, the World Championships are on, and for someone like Rashid, whether she'll opt in or opt out to both of those competitions, it'll be, time will tell. I suppose she's ran a lot this year from the collegiate system already. So the first up will be the World Champs in Oregon. And then followed by the European Championships in August. So there's definitely a lot more to give from Rashid, and it'll be an exciting opportunity to get to see her here in Ireland, because she's been racing abroad for the whole year. So I definitely would recommend to see the fastest woman Ireland has ever produced.
And Israel Olatunde could be challenging the national record in the 100 metres final for men. That record stands at 10.18 seconds.
Yeah, and last week in Geneva in Switzerland, he ran 11:19 wind assistance, so the wind was just a little bit too much, so unfortunately the time doesn't completely count. But like, Israel is just going from strength to strength. He's studying UCD. He's under the guidance of Daniel Kilgallen, which is, again, he's a brilliant international coach, and he's a fantastic setup. Even challenging for a medal in that race will be Joseph Al-Jarumi, who's Israel's training partner. But with the men's race, it'll be interesting as well, because they will have to run a heat, a semi-final and a final. It's a lot of rounds, it's a lot of legs. People might think sprinters are lazy, that, it's only, like 11 seconds or so. But if you're exerting, complete full speed, complete full power, and you need to qualify through these rounds, you won't be able to you can't take the foot off the gas too quickly here. But I suppose rather than who will have the legs for it, it'll be who will also have the mental stamina and resilience to keep going throughout those rounds. But yeah, it'll be a good one. There's some other lads there. They'll all go over the line together because it'll be so close. Conor Morey, Rob McDonald is down again for it. Oliver Swinney, Colin Doyle from Leevale. So Israel finished second last year in it, just behind Stephen Gaffney. So there's only 100 seconds. So I'm sure he's going to want to change that result this year.
Yeah, we just got a breakaway from our Athletics Ireland panel just to get a half-time update from the All-Ireland Senior Hurling quarter-final. Galway against Cork, and the tribesmen are on top. Tommy Walsh.
Hi, John. 6 to 7 points. Galway are in the lead. Goals win matches, John. And there's been plenty of action around the goal mount in this first half. Galway had 2 chances, really. Scored the 2 of them. You asked me before the game, they hadn't been scoring goals up to this, could they fix that issue in the last 2 weeks? I said they couldn't. They fixed it in 30 minutes. So fair play to Galway. Conor Phelan, he got the ball in around 5 yards from the end line. Rose the ball, went around his man Wentford, but had missed two goal chances in the Leinster final. This time went low to the corner, bounced it, the only place he could really put the goalkeeper under pressure, and it went straight to the net. So on the opposite side of that, Cork had 3 great goal chances, and I said before the game that you need to go for 4 to score 1, but in this instance these were really good goal chances, John. Alan Connolly had the first one. He went around Daithí Burke, but what he didn't see, which you wouldn't really when you're in the game, Daithí Burke fell, and he could have brought the ball on an extra 5 yards and put it away into the corner, away from the goalie. But he probably still was expecting a hook maybe from Daithí Burke to come back and take the ball off him. So he shot from just too far out, really. Robbie O'Flynn had a great goal chance. Again, went through. It was probably 3 Cork forwards on 2. All he had to do was hand pass the ball over. It looked like Kingston was open on the left side, but shot from 25 yards out. Éanna Murphy saved it. And the last one then, Timo Mccartney, he started in the full forward line instead of Patrick Horgan. A ball came in, very, very quick hands, which you wouldn't be expecting from a guy that played most of his hurling out the field. A lovely pass, sent Fitzgibbon through, all on his own. But again, I felt he just could have took it in another 2 or 3 yards and either scored or laid it off. Éanna Murphy saved again. So really, Éanna Murphy is keeping Galway in this game. But listen, the two Manions, they put in 2 absolutely magical hooks and blocks in that first half, saved certain scores, and that's what could win it for them in the end. Galway are well fired up, but it's a low scoring game, and you know what it is, no criticism to the players here. It's a typical quarter to 2 game of a Saturday, John. I know from playing myself, quarter 2 on the Saturday, you're kind of dead in your feet, you know, you're travelling all day, the weather is warm and it saps the energy out of you, and that's exactly the way the game is playing in this first half.
Okay, thanks so much for the moment, Tommy Walsh. So Galway 2-6, Cork 7 points in the hurling quarter-final. We're speaking to Liliana O'Hora, Michael Bowler and Matt Lockett on the Saturday panel on the Athletics Ireland National Track and Field Championships, which take place at Santry next weekend in the Morton Stadium, the 150th edition. athleticsIreland.ie to get your tickets for it. We already spoke about the shot put, Michael. What else should we be looking out for in the field next weekend? I think we have in the long jumper, is it that we have Sarah Buggy going for a 10th senior outdoor title?
That's it. Sarah Buggy actually I'd go one further and say St. Albans are just completely dominating the jumps. They've had Barry Pender over the years in the high jump, but they've got Sarah Buggy. She's a dominant force in the triple jump, but also she'll be throwing down the gauntlet in the long jump, so she could, as she has done in the past, take the 2 jumps, the long jump and triple. Her best is 13.53, so she's only 10 centimetres away from the national record, and really she's an outstanding athlete in that event. So I'd really love to see if you're there, John, get behind her, and for the rest of the crowd that are there, definitely get behind her, because she will be looking for that national record every year she comes out and she puts on such a good show. So, and then of course you've got Sarah McCarthy, who's been there and thereabouts before, and Ruby Mellett, she's the outstanding favourite in the long jump, even ahead of Sarah, and she jumps 6.42 this year already. And for anyone listening at home, that you know, it's hard to kind of put it in perspective for people sometimes, but if you measure out 6.42 across your kitchen floor, it's something else, and to see it, as I said, in the flesh will be brilliant. So it'll be a great show from those girls. Also, just in the women's pole vault, Ellie Mccartney, she's knocking on the door for the national record as well. She's jumped 4.24, and you've got youngsters Ava Rochford, who's the high jump champion from the indoor championships. She'll be putting down an effort in the pole vault as well. Una Bryce is the underage, the youth national record holder, and Clodagh Walsh is former national champion. So, but Ellie Mccartney is definitely the under 20 and 3 record holder for that event. So, but the women's pole vault will be another one to look out for.
Okay, Michael. Matt Lockett, so the 1500 metres final for men, you got Olympian Andrew Coscoran, you got the record holder for the mile, Luke McCann, you have the double European under 20 and gold medalist Nick Riggs. So this should be tasty.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, Andrew was semi-finalist in Tokyo and is probably the man to beat. But Luke McCann's had a good 2 years after a bit of injuries. Probably generally doesn't work out well if parents coach their coach athletes. But Luke and Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the two that booked that trend, Luke's doing good work being coached by his dad there. And there's a few others. Cal Doyle would have been DCU athletics captain, and Conleth Storwart. He's been on scholarship in the US and has gone sub 340 this year as well. Paul Robinson, a training partner with Dublin Track Club of Andrew Costrin, will be in the mix as well. And then there's Lua Loughlin, 800 metre under 20, under 23 international, Shane Bracken. And Kevin Kelly probably amongst the other leading entrants. But I suppose there's a lot of interest around Nick Riggs. There's just 17, and he pushed Andrew indoors to about 3:56 mile, I think it was, and looked very relaxed in Watford, running just 3:42. But I think he looks as though he's going to go sub 3:40 very soon as well, and will be planning his preparation towards the World Under-20s in Cali, Colombia. In 6 weeks' time, Red.
And we got the 400 metres final for women as well. Lillian, Phil Healy and Sophie Becker possibly getting their feet into the blocks in this one.
Yeah, do you know what, the 400 metre again, it's a brilliant event. Sophie Becker, Phil Healy, Charlene Maudsley and Roisin Harrison actually all ran the other day at the Diamond League together, and all 4 girls as a result managed to qualify for the European Championships. They were just slightly off qualifying for world qualifications. You need to be in the top 16. They ended up 17th by 0.06, like I said, just off. But yeah, it'll be a great showdown amongst the girls. Sophie and Phil would train together occasionally through their coaches, Jeremy Lyons and Shane McCormack. And, Sophie, I suppose in particular, both girls come back from the Olympics last year, have been very consistent with their results. Sophie won the title back in 2020, so I'm sure she's going to want to do it again next week, should I say. But she kind of started her season a bit earlier this year. She started competing in May, whereas Phil is only after kind of getting going in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So there's only at the moment just 0.01 between the 2 girls. So that's just a blink of an eye. It's something that you won't even be able to tell if they go over the line together. It could be just the difference of way that the number is put on the bib. But I definitely think Charlene Maudsley is very capable of pushing the girls as well. They all have very similar PBs. But it's going to be a great race. Like those 3 girls alone, they're number 4, 5 and 6 on the all-time list, and I just think the talent and like not just from the women but from the men as well that is there at the moment is something that really should be appreciated and attended to, especially kind of maybe up and coming athletes, to kind of check it out and see, I suppose, what's ahead of them and what, like, the way it's all ran, how the athletes carry themselves and everything like that between the rounds. But it'll be a great race.
And as well, I think, Michael Bowler, that sometimes we know that sport is so competitive in terms of grabbing the attention of the public. And generally in athletics and track and field is when somebody does something, whether underage level or the cross-country runners there last year. But this is a great opportunity next weekend for actually to see people in the flesh, the best people in the country in their own craft, doing what they do best. So that is the opportunity in the window that we have here, that we just are not just like, I suppose, turn on the television or attending something when there's a medal on offer at a bigger stage,
That's exactly, you just can't quite understand how good this is, how good these athletes are. They are so committed. They're some of the most committed sports people you'll see in Ireland. And because it's such a globalised sport, it's so hard to get the attention that they deserve and do. And that's all it is. Like Lillian was saying earlier, she's won national titles and she's one of the best hurdlers we've ever had in the country. She doesn't get any funding, so all you're looking for is just a little bit of recognition, a little bit of appreciation for what you do. I just like to mention really quickly, John,
sure,
the men's long jump. If you're at the stadium, go over to the far side of the stadium and you'll be able to see within 3 feet of the men jumping in the long jump. And I think it's probably one of the most stacked long jump fields we've ever had. Shane Howard is the best there with 771. And for anyone listening at home that doesn't know how long that is, it's 25 feet long. So it's incredible, really. As I said before, the only way to really put it in perspective is to lay it out across your kitchen floor. There's also Ben Fisher, Colin Burke, Rhys Adamole, Sam Healy, and these guys are all over 7 meters 50. And then I feel bad for the guys that are jumping over 7 meters, because that often in the past would have won you a medal, but now it's just going to be way down the field. So we're blessed with a load of really good long jumpers. Just one more event that I'm just going to really quickly cap.
Okay.
The women's high jump will also be really good. Summer Leckie is a former silver medalist in the youth, I think it was, World Championships. So a seriously good standard there. Pippa Rogan will also be thereabouts. There's only 1 centimetre between them. They're number 2 and 3 all-time. So really, really good standard. And for anyone listening at home, just put that in perspective as well, because sometimes it's hard to quantify. They're jumping 6'2", the women high jumper. So to see that in person, it really is something special.
Okay, Michael. Lillian, you got the last word. Sonia Sullivan, David Gillick, Eamon Coughlin, Derval O'Rourke, all these household names in the country. We hope to see more of these heroes to cheer on in the coming years, and let's hope that there will be new role models and new stars of the future that we might be seeing next weekend.
100%. Yeah, Rashid Adliki and Israel Olatunde, just from a sprint perspective, I definitely would be keeping an eye on them. Like, they are just phenomenal athletes, and like as Michael was saying, until you see them in the flesh and you see how quickly their limbs are moving, you'll just be in awe of them, and everyone can learn from them regardless of the level of the ability that they're at or the sport that they're even at, you know. So even if there are field games coaches out there who are interested in seeing actually how to kind of maybe move their players a little bit quicker, I'd come down at the weekend and check even just the drills that they're doing in the warm-up and so on. You know, Sarah Lavin has been running incredible in the 100-metre hurdles. She's PB'ing. She's the second fastest woman of all time, just behind Derval O'Rourke, and she just finished 7th in the World Indoor Championships. So again, from a sprints perspective, they're the 3 big names that I would be keeping an eye out, as well as Rob McDonald in the 400 metres.
Okay, Liliana O'Hora, Michael Bowler and Matt Lockett, thank you so much for previewing the National Track and Field Championships in Santry next weekend. Enjoy the occasion. Hopefully plenty more records will be broken and new stars will be in the limelight. Take care, folks.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Remember, folks, you can get tickets for the 150th edition of the National Track and Field Championships at athleticsIreland.ie. It is Galway 2-6, Cork 7 points in the hurling. We're going to check in with Tommy Walsh in Thurles and chat racing with our residents' sage, Johnny Ward, after this break.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball. Lunchtime Live.
On Lunchtime Live this week, do people ever mispronounce your name?
Some of my personal favourites are corn and chlorine. Corrine, crone, it's just Corinne.